Hey friends. So I am going to talk a little bit more about feeling today, some things that we can do, some practices and things that we can do in the beginning when we're trying to feel again. And I want to say most people, I think initial will be yeah, I can feel. But then when they actually do an orienting practice, or they do a neurosensory practice, Irene refers to them as neurosensory practices, of actually going into the body, they realize it actually is harder than they thought, and that they are not really doing it. You know what I mean? And so if you're a person who just wants to kind of skip over this video, oh, I already know that stuff, then maybe pause and really listen and just try, really feeling the body and what is going on in the internal environment and seeing how much you can actually be with that, and how hard that is. Again, it's information. You know what I mean? It's not to be judged. It's not to be shamed or anything. It's just the avenue for healing that we want to really get into and explore. And a lot of us, I want to say too, if we have autoimmune and chronic symptoms, then we're dealing with a lot of other things too. We're dealing with aspects of our illness that are traumatic, the traumas that happened because we've been sick for a long time, some gaslighting. We've probably learned, like myself, to pull ourselves out of our body because we couldn't feel, because it hurt too bad. And then some cognitive dissonance around our symptoms, and then behavioral patterns and all kinds of different things, relationship dynamics and, dysregulated parenting and things like that. There's so many layers. And if we're at the point where our symptoms have become chronic and we're dealing with something really deep, like autoimmune, like lupus or MS or something like that, then that likely means it's been there for a long time, and it means that if it's been there for a long time, it's deep. And this is deep work. That's what this is. This somatic, this feeling, learning to feel and drop into the body again, it's deep work. And so people will say on platforms oh, I healed, I went paleo, or I did this, or I did that, and I healed. Well, then they didn't have a very deep manifestation of an illness, in my opinion. That's and those people can heal. A lot of people can heal with just that, but those of us who, I've talked about this a lot, those of us who are having an awakening, who are here excuse me, who are really here to shift lineage patterns and big things, it's deep. And then that means we have to go deeper to get to it, So anyway, one of the things that I do and to really drop into my senses and feeling. Okay, so I talked a little bit about the ancient wisdom of the senses, right? That smell, that touch. We've been doing this, you guys, thousands. Other societies have been doing this for thousands of years. And sadly, even in India, Ayurveda is kind of being pushed aside. Maybe now it's having another reawakening, I hope. It's a beautiful science. And same with TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. But I talked a little bit about in my last video is how sensing and feeling and sensing the qualities of and components of the earth, of the food we eat, of the things we take in, and what's happening internally. It's been part of the medicine that we've been working with in other countries and ancient societies for thousands of years, and we've really gotten so far away from that, to the detriment of our consciousness, actually, and our our connection with earth and nature and the healing properties that the senses provide for us. So one of the tools that I use often when I'm really wanting to like drop into my senses is with food. It's such a beautiful way to get to touch into that parasympathetic. I am growing my gray hair. Side note, I'm growing my gray hair out. And I mean, I've never colored it actually, but it just pokes out of me sometimes. So sorry about that. Anyway, having an experience with food, first of all, I had to do a lot of healing around my relationship with food because I used it as an escape. So now I try to use it as well, it is a resource for me at times, but it's also a tool to drop in, you know? So I really slow down when I want to eat, you know? And I notice what emotions, what is activated within me when I'm going to food. So oftentimes when I'm anxious or activated, I'll run to try to eat. So I want to really notice like where I'm at. Am I eating because I'm hungry, or am I eating because I'm activated and something's uncomfortable and I'm in a resource? So that information is important. Again, it's not to judge. Maybe it's not even to change it. You know, maybe I still, even though I know it's a resource, I still go and I make sure I do like use it as that thing that kind of helps me manage what's happening. At some point, as I grow capacity, I'm not going to have to do that, which will be great. But let's say I am actually hungry and I'm wanting to, you know, really nurture this experience. So I'll smell my food and I'll make sure I put my fork or my spoon down in between bites and really feel like the food in my mouth. You know what I mean? Like really feel and taste it. Like, what does it feel like? Is it crunchy? Is it this? Is it, you know, all these, there's so much that happens in the senses when we eat, so much. And then is there like an emotional component to, you know, oftentimes when I'm really, really going slowly with my food and really nurturing each bite, there is a sense of gratitude that comes over me that is often lost when we're rushing when we eat, right? Or often lost in any time we eat. And so this can add a level of coherence to our body, to the food we're eating. It develops a different kind of relationship, a deeper relationship with what we're taking into our body, which ultimately signals to our body that we are taking care of you. You are important, right? You are worthy of being taken care of being fed in this beautiful way. So eating is a really great tool that we can use. If you're feeling like you're not that connected with your body and it's really hard to feel your body and all this stuff, start with a meal, start with food. See if you can feel the food in your mouth, if you can feel it going down your throat, landing in your belly. Notice if the temperature of your internal environment changes when you eat something warm or if you eat something cold, right? It absolutely will, but can you feel it, right? These are amazing tools. The other thing that I do is when I'm with my kids. So I just like, my kids are such a huge healing. Well, they're part of my why, right? Why I wanted to continue to heal deeply is because I want to be a very regulated, conscious parent. I also want to bring them up with this language. I want them to understand. Now I don't tell them the nuances of like all the things, you know, that would be maybe even traumatic for them to know all this. They're young. But I want them to understand it's important to like look around in your surroundings. It's important to like observe how the wind is like blowing a tree. I want them to know it's important when you hurt yourself to be able to release that and cry. I think I froze for a moment. So what I do with them is called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's such a great little practice. It's 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you feel, 2 things you smell. That one's always hard for me. And then 1 thing you taste. The important trick to doing this with kids, and anybody can do this, is, so anytime you're doing this, I'll say, you want to go slow, because you can just go through, okay, I see a tree, I see this, that, you're not really landing in the practice if you do that, right? So it's like, I see this leaf outside my window, but like I'm with it, It's like, how can I kind of be with it, right? Be with the experience of like the wind blowing it and the colors, right? The different colors of the sun and the shade, so I pause and I stay with that thing for a moment, right? So when I'm doing this with my kids, we're talking about the things they see, right? Oh, I see a rock. Oh, I love that. Let's look at this rock even more, right? What's it in? Is it in dirt? What color is it? How long do you think it's been there? You know what I mean? Like, this is such a beautiful thing. It's healing for me. It's healing for them. And then we go through the 5 senses, those 5 senses, and they love it. And what's beautiful about it is they don't know they're doing it. They think they're just playing a little game with their mom, They know that I find these things important, but they're having fun. So to them, it's not like a practice, or it doesn't feel whatever. It feels actually to them like I'm engaged with them, and that's what they want, So if you have kids, I definitely encourage you to explore that. But even if you don't, that might be a good tool or a good way for you to start to feel your senses and see if, when you look at that thing, can you be with it, or do you have that urge to just sort of like go to the next thing, right? Again, it's information. It's not to be judged. And then the other tool that I use often is when I am going from point A to point B, I'm saying the small points, right? So from my from my house, like putting my shoes on, or from my door to my car. The process of movement, I pause and I notice like how fast my body wants to go. Where's my mind, right? Am I in my head, or am I actually paying attention to my feet, to how I'm moving? Can I notice my breath as I'm moving, right? Is my breath quick or shallow? Felt good to take a deep breath just then. As I'm walking into a store from my car to the grocery store, for whatever reason, I'm always rushing to the grocery store. So can I just pause and just watch myself, like literally watch myself, like watch my feet as they hit the pavement, right? Watch my legs, feel how my legs want to move, feel the temperature. I always like to go back to the temperature of my fingers. How does the temperature of my body feel, right? And then it really helps you to kind of just land into your body. And so, the first video that I did on the last video, if you go back to it, I'm talking about the ancient sciences, and I'm talking about learning to feel, the importance of like learning to feel our emotions and feel our things again. And so this video is really just like a 101 about like just some of the tools that I find that are really like they're kind of easy to do in the beginning parts of learning to feel again, because it's just dropping into the senses of the physical body, right? When some of those emotions, some of the emotionality behind the physical sensations might be too hard in the beginning. You might not be ready for that. So these are steps that you can take, that you can try. Again, sometimes it might just be as information to know like where you are and like, wow, I do have a tendency to just go to the next thing, or to go really fast, or to not be aware, or my body actually feels really heavy a lot, right? Like, am I in freeze more than I thought I was? Is it hard for me to move? Notice what your joints feel like when you're walking, Are they tight? Or is there space, Anyway, I find these practices to be really digestible but really important, And again, I think when we're first getting into this work, we might think, oh, this isn't that important. Like, this isn't that big. It actually is. It is big. And it can shift a lot for us. And so I hope that you liked this video. It's very action-based. And and I hope you put some of these tools into practice. And I would love for you to like or comment if you liked and you want to comment. That would be amazing. And I will see you guys soon. Bye.